We had the pleasure of interviewing Mrs. Elsa Anaclario, who is the librarian at Everett in the 1950s and also an Everett mom. Her children went to both the original and the current Everett schools.
The school was on the corner of Telegraph and Everett. What was it like inside? Did they have running water?
Fountains and pretty little desks and lots of drawings that children had made.
The librarian in the new Everett school. How did the librarian know what book a student had?
They had cards that were kept in the book, and when they brought the book back, then I would mark it off, and I'd know that book was back.
And you were telling me about the card catalog instead of how now people keep track of their books on a computer, and you had a different way of looking for books.
I had a card catalog,
Mm-hmm.
and all the books were listed in there, in alphabetical order, and by subject matter on the shelves. And just about the time that I was retiring, they were introducing the computers, which I guess makes it much more, simpler,
Mm-hmm.
of course.
Did the kids in 1954 read Dick and Jane? Other books were popular.
Dr. Seuss books, and they still probably do.
Yes.
In the 1950s, what kind of community was Everett? Was it urban, rural, or suburban?
Did they have fields or were there horses?
There were lots and lots of fields. In fact, my house was on 5-acre land.
Okay.
And we had lots and lots of flowers and wild birds, and it was very lovely.
The library used to be by the office in 1954. Did they have monarch books back then?
I don't remember having those, no.
Did you have Caldecott Award
Yes,
books?
we did.
Okay.
That we did.
Okay.
You were in the school at the time you were a librarian.
And I guess I would think about 15.
Okay.
What subjects were taught in school? Did they have wellness?
Or Jim?
They taught health, yes, and they had Jim, had a very good teacher. Her name was Harvey, Miss Harvey.
Yes.
And they also had reading and writing and arithmetic.
Was there an intercom system in the school to make announcements? If you didn't have that, how could students and teachers find out if there was indoor recess?
Well, we had children that would go to the office and get that information and come back to the tell the teacher, today it's too cold out there.
Was there a nurse in the school?
But she did not stay. She serviced all 3 schools.
I was wondering how were copies made back then?
A mimeograph machine.
And what was a mimeograph like?
Well, you had to crank it. It had a handle, and you put ink on the roller, and you'd put the paper in, and then you would crank it, and out would come the copy.
And what color was the copy? Was it black?
Black and white,
Okay.
just like a newspaper.
What were the classrooms like? Did they have iPads or laptops back then? Were there whiteboards or chalkboards?
That came quite a bit later.
Yeah. Were there whiteboards or did you use chalkboards?
We had chalkboards. Oh, yeah.
What kinds of supplies did the students use? Did they have desks, tables, or both?
Well, they had, of course, crayons and pencils, and depending on how old they were, pens. And I understand now they're not teaching cursive driving. Isn't that amazing?
We teach cursive in 2nd grade, and the kids are very excited about learning cursive. So just 1 year,
Oh.
and we focus on them learning to write their names, their signatures.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
Yeah. Okay, did they use desks, tables, or both in the
They
classroom?
did both. In the library, we had tables, but in the classrooms, they had desks. Or depending upon the project that they were on, sometimes they did have tables.
Students store their supplies or their cubbies for for clothes?
Well, some of the supplies were brought in by the students, and then we had, as a matter of fact, I had a lot of supplies right there in the library. Construction paper and different colored pens and that kind of thing.
And were there cubbies for their clothes, their outerwear?
In the classrooms they did. Oh, yes. They had cloakrooms.
Okay.
I have 3 questions. My first question is, did the kids eat lunch in their classrooms or in a lunchroom? My second question is, did the kids when they got punished, did they smack rulers against their hands or did they get punished in a different way? My third question is, did they wear fancy clothes?
Cafeteria.
There was a cafeteria, and it was in the gymnasium, and it was used for many different things, also for their programs whenever they had a program.
Okay. Were children expected to wear certain types of clothes?
Well, they had to be neat, but those were the days when children also wore slacks, the girls that is. Now when my daughters went there, they wore skirts and blouses
Okay.
and dresses.
And how did children get punished?
Well, I never had to punish anybody, but I imagine that if they were given a warning and if things didn't get any better, they were sent to the principal's office.
Did the children wear fancier clothes than today?
I don't know. Fashions are so different, you know.
Did the girls mostly wear skirts or pants or
Are you talking
jeans?
about
The
100
students.
years ago, or are you talking when I was
Well,
there?
from 1954.
No, when I was there, I don't think there was any fast rule, just so they were, nicely dressed and clean.
Mm-hmm. Did children eat in the cafeteria or their classroom?
In the cafeteria.
Okay.
I have one question. Which side of the school was the playground?
I think it was on the east side of the building.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they had the slides and the swings and.
In the park, where did you have slides, monkey bars, what did you have?
Okay, and what kinds of activities could the children play on the playground?
Well, I suppose dodgeball or whatever they call that.
Okay.
I think children just like to run around.
Yes.
Still do.
Yes. Were there slides, swings, monkey bars?
Yes, all of those. Mm-hmm.
Principals like back then.
His name was Mr. Hooksema, and he was very, very nice. He did a very, very good job. He took care of the children, their parents, and the Board of Education.
Mm-hmm. I have another one that the kids asked me. Were there telephones in every room?
No,
How did people
I didn't
get,
have a telephone either.
How did the parents call the school? Who would they call?
They would call the office. They would call the office. And if it was something of an emergency, then they would go down to this classroom and tell them of what was going on.